we can get started today. So, welcome for those who just came in to our Fortnite Creator Fireside Chat with the wonderful Kirious. Today, we're going to be focused all on creative expression and creative development within Fortnite. Islands and creation, and y'all submitted some great questions. We also have a
Very
few
good
extras.
questions.
Yes, and Kirious has been busy coming up with amazing answers for y'all. So he's really been thinking it out. So I know you're going to
You
get
can't
some.
trust me to explain on the spot. I have to write notes.
I'm very similar. I totally understand. So, if anything goes weird in this, you'll know it's because I didn't prepare anything other than these questions. Hi everyone, welcome. All right. So with that, I'm gonna kick it off just with a brief question for you, Kirious. I know this wasn't in the preparation, but it's just the standard. For those who don't know you, who happen to not know you, could you give us just a little bit of a brief introduction about your journey as a Fortnite creator and what you work on today?
So I started out. I can go way back before creative here. Even playing games like Minecraft. I love building things like architecture and nature related, just because I've always found it fascinating. And so, creative comes out and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what can I do with this mode? And at the time, everyone was obsessed with being nostalgic over old Fortnite. That's just how it was. So I was initially creating recreations as accurately as I possibly could with the tools we had in Fortnite. And that's kind of where I started out. And from there, I started streaming more and more from, the end of 2018 and on. And I started creating my own original things, and I would host, even just creating with viewers and letting them help me out, and that's how I kind of built my community initially. And so, now here we are today, and I'm, I can do this as a job, which is awesome. And I create, unique things, and I try not to follow trends, just because it's not really something that speaks to me, and I don't really feel like it speaks to other people. It's not something people will remember. So I try to create things that will leave a mark on people.
Awesome. Yeah, and we have a lot of great questions about that today, so I know we're going to dive deep. This is your show, Kirious. Would you like me to start going through some questions about yourself from that category, or would you like to kick off kind of the creation you wanted to build? What speaks to you right now?
I think we could start out with some simple questions, just kind of get us warmed up.
Cool. That sounds good. So you mentioned bringing your experiences into the creations that you make. How did your childhood experiences influence your passion for creating aesthetically pleasing Fortnite islands? And can you share any specific memories that inspire your designs?
Yeah, so I grew up, on the west coast of the U.S., up in the, on the coast and in the mountains. That's kind of where I spent all of my time growing up. So I'd go on trips with my dad and with my family, or I'd go hang out at my grandma's house, who lived in the forest, with a cabin that she and her husband built.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
so I've always been fascinated with things like nature and a lot of the small details. And that's kind of where I come from with the way that I design things. Hi, Skylar. And, well, shoot, now I've already forgotten the rest of the question.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. Just how are there any specific memories that inspire your designs?
Specific memories.
Yeah.
Okay. I think ones that have really stuck with me have been going camping with my dad, and my grandma bringing us over to her cabin to have campouts and stuff. And that's kind of something that's always stuck with me, and small memories within that, such as holidays, or going fishing at the lake in summer and stuff like that from when I was little.
Oh yeah, and it's interesting because we live kind of in a day and age when it's hard to tell how many people get to see the outside or think to go outside anymore. Definitely noticed a change in that over the years. So with that, you have a lot of personal inspiration, and that's super cool. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and I kind of, that's my point, is I want to show people that there really is a lot of beauty in the world, and I try to mimic that in my creations, and maybe inspire people to go explore.
Definitely. I think that's definitely an impact that you're making with these kind of beautiful creations. Definitely inspires me to get out more when I see them. For sure. And another great question too. How do you hope your creations impact the Fortnite community or players who engage with your islands? Kind of similar to what you were saying. Are there any specific messages or emotions you're aiming to convey through your unique worlds?
Well, hang on, give me a moment to check my notes because I don't remember if I wrote
You
one for that.
you are so good. This is a super casual chat and we're all just hanging out, right, chat? Hi everybody. You're just here and we're happy you're
Just
here.
vibing.
Welcome. Good afternoon, old ghost. I got all the chats open, so y'all are included. Hi. Awesome love for Flack in chat. Hi, Mr. Block. Man, Kermit's just making my day. Yeah, so this is a fireside chat. We have these monthly with creators. If you're interested at all, feel free and hit me up. We talk about various topics, whatever your passions are, your skills. So we can share that knowledge throughout the community. So welcome.
Okay, so in terms of inspiring people and like kind of a message I want to convey is like I said, I really want to inspire people to kind of look outside their daily life and really see how much beauty is in this world. And I know a lot of people, it's hard for people to feel, constant happiness, especially these days, and that's just part of being human. But I feel like you can really gain that through things that speak to you, and I want to create things that speak to people personally.
Yes, absolutely. That's a wonderful mission that you're on, and I know everyone appreciates that. There's one where before we dive into you actually building here, we would like to know what you enjoy most about making these environments. And the person who asked this question said they just enjoy hearing other artists' perspectives on how they approach things in their own way.
So for me, with art in general, and this includes level design and gameplay and stuff, I really want to tell a story through what I create. Like that's what I really enjoy. So if I can kind of give people, how do I say this?
You got it. Take your time.
Pardon me, I'm just getting warmed up.
No, you're good.
My
Me
brain
too.
a little.
We all feel that. What's a
I need to get
map?
past the forgetting the question immediately phrase.
Oh, you're good. You're good. No worries. So someone was just wondering what you enjoy most about making environments.
Okay. So yeah, it's really telling a story, and like if there's something I can do where a little player, like a player can find just something little on the map, or even something bigger that they might notice that I'm hiding kind of behind the whole thing, and go, oh, whoa, that's cool that I found that, or that's interesting. I wanna find more things like that within the game. That's stuff that I really like to do. I like to create things that people can find and be like, oh my gosh, and send it to me and say, this is so cool that you put this in here, or is there more of this around the map, and stuff like that.
Yes, we did have a good question about Easter eggs in here, which we'll get to. So it's cool to hear that the community's definitely recognizing that in your creations and feeling that. So you're doing the due diligence. It's working, Kirious. And one other question too. Have you ever considered uploading UEFN tutorials? It sounds like there are people in the audience that would love to learn more from you beyond just this fireside chat.
Oh man, so here's the thing with that. In terms of UEFN, there's not a lot that I personally do that's outside of common knowledge, outside of messing with textures and materials. But in terms of being a tutorial guy, I'm probably not the best at explaining how to use a program. My excellence is in level design and the artistic side of it.
Cool. Well, speaking of that, let's go ahead and show them the plans for today of what we're going to create. So if you're in our Discord, you can see our little fireside that we have going. It's a warm and cozy living room environment that has very many details. And really, when I saw it, I was like, wow, this feels like a friend's home. It feels like I'm home. It's very nice. That was created by Kirious here, and we're going to kind of show Kirious's development process when it comes to building out these beautiful experiences live while we answer some questions. So go ahead, Kirious. Share what you would like to present to them. Oh, yeah, there it is.
Here we are in here. And you'll notice the back of it is not at all decorated because I have not gotten to that yet. But this was designed off of my previously mentioned grandma's cabin, my late grandma, and like just some memories that I had, growing up there. And so when I was building this, I actually went to a lot of my family members to find photos because I don't personally have a lot. I wasn't old enough to have photos before she passed away. So this is like kind of a little memory trapped in here, and that's what I wanted to convey with this.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I didn't realize you got actual photos. That's so cool. I just saw it and I'm like, wow, Kirious got a knack for knowing very specific placement of very specific.
Okay, well, actually, the whole layout I do remember because I have a very photographic memory.
Aw.
Yeah, everyone's cool. Grandma did have that rug.
It's true.
So yeah, I had a photo that I saw, but the general layout, I'd been there so many times growing up that I do remember that, and that's kind of what I started with. And so after I got some photos from my dad, I went around and I asked my other relatives and gathered photos. But this is really inspired by, Christmas at my grandma's house. We've had our dinner, we're about to open presents. The sleeping bags and the blankets are out because my grandma always had a million blankets stacked everywhere.
There's
a lot of clutter, but it's clutter that makes sense because there's kind of a purpose for everything in her house. That's all you use, and it all goes back at the end of the day.
Oh, that sounds like my house. I don't feel so bad then. I love how the tree, even so we've got the tree, it's slowly swaying. That's really cool. You've got the llama star on top.
I don't know if any of you noticed the little Easter egg right in here.
I haven't looked hard enough because it's too small for my eyes, my old eyes.
Oh, well.
But I'm curious to see.
Here's your little Easter egg.
Oh,
he wants to be let inside, but he'll melt.
Oh my god. Oh, that's super cute. Help. I want to be cozy too. That's really cool, Kirious. I love the details, and I'm curious to see more as we go through it. So with all of this in mind, would you like me to dive into some level design questions we got?
Sure.
What are you feeling it's time for?
Yeah, I think we could do some questions, and then I can get into kind of replicating this because I have over here, very far away, duplicated the building so that I can kind of explain my thought process from designing it as we go.
This is super smart. Okay, this is great. And just so for everyone who's here, maybe those who haven't even been here for our fireside chats before, this is the first time we're having a creator come on and physically show us something. So we're hoping you enjoy this. And we're really appreciative of Kirious for taking the time to build all this out. So thank you. So yeah, I will start. I'll ask a couple questions. If there's anything you want to add while we're going, Kirious, feel free and just, snag the conversation and take it where you'd like. I want to make sure that it's the flow that you feel comfortable with, and we're being informative as you build. So with that, we were mentioning the outdoors a lot. We already talked about this, I believe, and the question was what led to combining your love for outdoors with your creations in Fortnite. Is there anything specifically about Fortnite in general that led to you going, this is where I want to bring these memories and these experiences? There's a lot of different platforms and a lot of different art, I guess, ways you could incorporate that, those memories and those experiences into art, right? And then you chose Fortnite, and I think people are wondering what made you choose Fortnite to be your outlet for that.
So Fortnite was something, for me at least, it was the game. Oh, did it just cut off my stream there? Let's take a second and figure that out.
No
Let's see.
worries.
Oh, I see why it popped up an autosave thing. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So when it comes to Fortnite, that was just my current interest at the time. It was something unique in that you could feel the love that was put into it during chapter 1 when I had started playing, and that has continued in very many different ways through the years, but around that time that really inspired me. And so when Creative came out, I started thinking, I've loved creative modes in other games since I was little, and so I was like, okay, this is kind of something perfect for what I love to do, and I didn't think I could earn any money out of it. So I was just kind of creating things that I thought people would like to play, which leads back into the recreating old Fortnite locations that were no longer in the game that people really liked. And because of that, I had been given my creator code before I even hit 1,000 followers because it had gained so much attention. And that allowed me to keep going with it. And through the years, I just, as creative evolved, I kept getting more and more into it with how much more I could do and how much I was learning about level design and all kinds of different things. And it just kept my interest because it's something that I feel like I could express myself through.
Awesome. Cool. And we were going to talk about your creative process. Mm-hmm. So when it came to building this out, how does your creative process flow when you're incorporating real world references like the photos and your memories into Fortnite Islands?
So I think one of the important things for me when doing this is spatial awareness. So I really try to take into account how the scale of things. That's something I struggled with for a while when building. And so I've started to scale down a little because I would always end up making something too big. And that's kind of my first and foremost thought, is making sure that this is accurately aligned to the size it would be in real life, or at least close to it. And then from there, I can twist it how I like it. When it comes to actually decorating and everything, I think something important to me with making this was, how can I tell stories from my childhood that people might speak with through this? So that would go into little things like, on the Christmas tree, I put candy canes because that's what my family would do. They'd put candy canes on there and we could have them after we opened our presents on Christmas. My grandma did it, my mom did it. And that's just one little thing I've hidden in here through that. Other things like, I have the memory of my grandma taking us over for camping trips at her cabin. We would always lay out a ton of blankets by the fireplace if it was too cold to do tents outside, or if there were recent wildlife spottings, just to be safe. And so that there's little memories I try to put in it that I feel like might speak to other people.
Definitely. And when you're building out this process, I know you drew up some inspiration too. Is that how you typically start when you start with creating something?
Lately, yes. I used to have a problem where I would sit there for hours trying to figure out, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do with this map? And so we decided, it's probably a good idea to plan it out first. So we got a few ideas sketched up here, and I'll go into
so fancy
to each one. So here, this was based off of a picture of my grandma's fireplace. My wife drew it out for me, and I revised it a little with her. And so we kind of have a framing based on composition here, where the fireplace is framed by different aspects that will draw your attention to it. It goes into photography and composition rules from art and other things. And so it kind of is meant to bring you where you're supposed to look. And I'll touch more on that with some of the other questions we have later. Here's a perspective view of that same fireplace just to give me a better idea of how it would look from different angles. And then here we have two other ideas in which we could incorporate elements into it. Just things that help us not get stuck on, okay, I like this, but I feel like it needs something more. So we give ourselves more options here. And obviously then we take inspiration from photos and from other things. Hi, hey.
When Hobos Fly is asking a
Hi,
great
Tat.
question, not to throw you a curveball at all, Curious, because I know you like to plan, but I felt I wanted to ask you this question when I thought about it. As a creative person, how do you deal with perfection and determining when you finish something?
Oh man. So about that, that's definitely something I struggle with, and I've been trying to figure out, because I don't like releasing something that I feel like isn't in a finished or a good enough state. So that's why I've started planning out my process more, so that I feel like something is good enough at a point where I've spent enough time into it that I can't really justify spending more time into it. And if it does well, then I'll continue working on it and making it better.
Gotcha. And you showed us those photos above for the planning of the fireplace. So once you built out that and you had it all drawn out, did everything start with the fireplace? I know we have the blank slate.
Yes.
across the
So
way.
what I did was use the modeling tools down here.
Oh, wow.
Look at that. Perfect transition. Up here.
Look at that. You were
Down
too
to-
much.
Okay.
I love it.
Anyways, so I used the modeling tools and I kind of sculpted out the basic shape of the fireplace to give me a good idea. This was really easy. I just took boxes and I unioned them with the union tool. And it gave me a better idea of the scale of it. I actually scaled it down quite a bit. If I were to, I'd have to leave immersive mode here, but if I were to show you, it's scaled down quite a bit from what I initially had it at. And so I compare this to things like Fortnite scaling, for example. I compare it to a mannequin device, which shows you the scale of the player, or a Fortnite wall size. And that gives me a better idea of how big it should be. So I start with this, and then the fun thing with the fireplace is these are all actually individual bricks. Every single one of these here. So I had to accurately place them, and I even, again with the perfectionism, I even went through looking at photos and made sure all the dark bricks were still in the correct positions from what my grandma's fireplace was like.
Wow. That's awesome.
And so once I had the fireplace ready, I could start framing everything else around it in those compositional rules. And that's the nice thing about working with what my grandma's house would like, because she had it laid out in such a way that it did draw your eye to the attention piece in the room. Because my grandpa was a constructor, for lack of better words. He built hotels and things like that.
Nice.
And so he had an idea of how things should look and how you can draw people's eyes to things. And so the way that this room was laid out really helped with that. Now, I did adjust some things, because the Christmas tree at my grandma's house wasn't always right next to the fireplace. It was actually closer to the windows over there. But I wanted to keep in mind framing and how to keep the attention over here and make sure that you were sure it was Christmas, So I brought the tree closer, and I found a way to make it look like it's cluttered, but still, makes sense over here.
Yeah, it looks great. And you were mentioning, like the bricks, the different elements that you're using. This is a great question, and it might be kind of difficult to answer, but could you kind of walk us through the elements you consider when you're designing for meaningful and lasting experiences within your islands?
So, in terms of creating meaningful and lasting experiences for people, I really like taking into consideration and I know I've reiterated this, but like what other people's memories might be. What can I put in here that they might relate to even slightly? And so, give me one moment to check my notes.
No, you're so good. It's along our questions about level design and gameplay.
Yes.
That we got. But hi everyone in chat. Did it have a llama on top though?
Oh no, it did not. I don't even remember what she actually put on top of it. It's been so long.
I will say that my Christmas star right now, I don't know about y'all's, but my Christmas star is heavy. So if the top of my tree is doing that thing that one is
the
doing
Charlie
for
Brown
sure.
thing.
Like,
it's the Charlie Brown tree.
I also want a llama tree. If someone makes a llama
Honestly,
Christmas tree,
listen.
like...
If any Epic devs are listening out there, you could really market some more Fortnite ornaments. I know you made some, but listen, a llama tree topper? Okay, I'm just saying.
I want a gold one.
Yup.
I just want a beautiful gold one.
There is one.
There is one, Flack. Don't you tease us like that.
What? How was I not aware of this? This is something I should know.
Well, if you got the link, Flag, don't be shy.
Yeah, don't be shy. Send that over to us.
But yeah, the question we were looking at was what elements you consider when you're designing things. So that could be, I guess, what they're asking kind of is in ways of, textures and lighting and
okay.
Look at that.
Seriously? What? Okay, but here's the question. Does it glow?
Wait, I'm Googling this. I'm sorry, we're getting sidetracked, but I don't even care. That's so cute. Let me see here.
Oh no, Fortnite. It doesn't light up.
Llama treetop. Oh my gosh, it isn't. So y'all, it is in Google. Okay, anyway. Oh my god, it's huge.
Okay. Okay, wait, so which question were we reading off again?
I'm sorry.
My oh my, the llama distractions. It's just like in Fortnite too.
This is exceptional. So people are wondering the elements that you consider when you're designing your islands that make a lasting impression. So I'm assuming
lasting
that's
impression. That's what it was.
Textures, the lighting, like what things you put in to make sure it sticks with people.
So in order to decide what kind of props, textures, lighting, composition you want to use, you have to consider, for starters, what you're working with, what your theme is. So once I decide my theme and kind of the general layout, what I'm trying to figure out next is, okay, what inspiration can I use? What cultures around the world would have these types of things, and how can I mimic that and twist it in my own way to be something unique and inspired by that, and something that people will see it and go, hey, that reminds me of this. I can kind of connect to that, and so after I've decided that, then I go in and I find assets and pictures related to those things and kind of meld it together in a way that would make sense.
Got it. Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Hopefully that is helpful. Oh, I'm catching up on chat here too. I love this detour. Flag, it's all your fault. No, that's great. Thank you. Let's see. We actually are cranking through quite a few of these questions, Kirious. Do we want to start building a little bit and kind of walking through the process, or?
Yeah, we can.
Totally up to you. We could also just at least attempt to build out the fireplace part.
Yeah,
because time is creeping up on us.
I know we have too much to talk about finding assets in prop hunts, but I believe I can talk about that with this too, because I have everything I've used set up right here.
Yeah, I know someone was saying, let's see here. Yes. What is your favorite place to find UFN assets and resources? And when it comes to building prop hunts, how do you find the props to decorate with? Yeah.
So I missed some little mugs down here. They're hidden behind the coffee table. Okay. So when I go about finding assets, this is something that obviously... Oh, did it die again?
No.
There we go. This is something that becomes easier over time the more you use it. And as you kind of get used to looking through specific keywords or galleries, you find props that you really like and you remember what they look like. The only problem is remembering what they're called. And so I try to, as I was saying, find different assets that are related to what I'm making. And I also find assets that might not be related, but I can twist in ways that they are related. So for example, for the stockings here on the fireplace, I actually took the mitten prop and I rotated it to look like a stocking.
What?
And so you really can take different assets and twist them different. Oh, did it? I don't know why it's doing this. I'll be honest with you.
No,
Let me
it's
see if
totally
I can
okay.
swap it to like a window capture. And that
for everyone, not to talk too much about what's happening behind the curtain, but we have quite the extensive process here to make these virtual things happen. So it's always going to happen. For those in chat, how many of y'all manipulate items in your creations to make it look how you're looking? Like, even if it's something totally different than what it originally is, do y'all do that quite often? I know I've seen it time to time, but that mitten got me. That's I feel deceived, Kirious.
I know, no, because we don't have
Some
any
big
stocking
mittens.
props, so you have to be clever with what you use. And another example is here with the Christmas tree. Christmas trees are supposed to look thick, like they're supposed to be chunky, in my opinion. And so what I did was I overlaid the Christmas tree prop with just a normal Chapter 1 tree prop to make it have a darker, richer color and still keep the decorations on it.
Oh, no, that looks so great. Oh yeah, we got love this quote from Radical Redhead. Creating games is just smoke and mirrors. You're right though, especially in these kind of UGC platforms, right? And the evolution of Fortnite Creative to UEFN. We've really had to, people have to go above and beyond to make it what they're trying to make it. And hopefully in the future we'll have more tools and ways for you to find exactly what you're looking for without having to manipulate. That's the dream. But it's really cool for us to see how y'all utilize these items and tools and things so that we can, make it easier in the future. So,
okay.
But yeah, so here's our little. So you went through all the different galleries and pulled out the ones. Okay, so there isn't like a secret special fast way to do that.
I try to separate it into categories. So I'll go, okay, what kind of furniture am I going to need for this? Over here I have different furniture. I go, what kind of living decorations, what kind of clutter decorations can I find? So over here I've got different stuffed animals to act as the people in the scene or as my family in the scene. I've got books, I've got lamps, I've got the presents, toys, clothing pieces, everything like that. Over here there's more clutter such as like blankets and sleeping bags. Then there's decorations like the tree and the llama ornaments, and there's like food decorations and then there's like utility items like lights and stoves and fridges and stuff like that. And so I try to go through different categories to make it so I'm not getting lost in the process of finding what I'm looking for.
Got it. Very cool. Very helpful. When we are talking about aesthetics and what you're building out here, because you're going for a vibe, you're pulling out these things to really fill out the space and make it feel like it's a place that's lived in. Are there any techniques or principles you prioritize when you are focused on building out aesthetics and making something feel like a real place?
So I like to, as I've touched on before, I like to incorporate a story into it. If you just decorate with a sense of, okay, this is a house, and it doesn't go past that, there's not really going to be anything that speaks to someone in that scene. There's nothing that there's nothing that will really catch their eye. There's nothing that they'll want to go back to that place and go, I really like how this place made me feel, and I want to hang out in this place, And so when I consider that, I really try to think of things like, let's say I'm building a forest scene, and I'm trying to incorporate the gameplay element of, cover players can use and telling a story at the same time. So if I put like a stack of barrels and like a knocked over cart, I have to think, why is that there? What kind of story can I tell with that makes this world feel more alive and makes it feel like there's kind of a reason behind having things there, rather than just there being, here's a barrel you can use for cover, here's a box you can use for cover. I try to think of, what I can show people with that. Hi, amateur.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. And we have all those those items that you pulled out. So once you
Mm-hmm.
build out, say, the fireplace, you get, I assume you put the bricks up together like you,
Mm-hmm.
to give it that texture and that real life feel. And then curious to hear, oh, I'm using curious to you. That's hilarious.
What, me? No way.
It's
The joke
Curiousception.
has come full circle.
It finally has. When you start decorating the space, do you do that as you go with certain elements? Like you build the fireplace, you put the bricks on, you start decorating right
Mm-hmm.
away? Or do you build out like the table, the windows, the little like bigger items within the room first?
So I'd be lying to say that I don't get distracted easily.
As
So
we
I
all do.
try to focus on one thing at a time, but if I feel like I'm getting kind of bored of working on that at the moment, I'll move on to something else, like the shape of the house, the windows, for example here with the walls. These walls are actually multiple pieces. Like this trim here is not part of that wall texture.
Oh, wow.
And so, okay, I think I figured out what's making it disappear. It's when I undo when it pops up the little thing in the bottom.
No worries.
Anyways,
okay.
So if I get bored of placing all these bricks, for example, I'll move on to something like, okay, I'm going to lay out the carpets or figure out what this bottom of the fireplace should look like, how I should lay these blankets and stuff on them. And then I go back into that idea of, okay, I'm going to tell a story with this. So here's a backpack that I can put here. Here's the sleeping bags. And then once I've again lost interest in doing that for the moment, I'll go back to what I was working on before or a new thing until things have kind of just fully finished up. And that's not obviously me suggesting to do that. I suggest finishing everything first, but oh no, Andrew's going to snatch the cookies.
I was gonna say, have you ever built something and then you realize midway you've already piled a bunch of detail in it and you go, oh, there's something at the very root of it I need to update?
Yeah, no, I did that with the fireplace because I got distracted putting all the decorations and I was like, wait, I didn't put the bricks back here on the sides.
Oh no!
And now the firelight is leaking out.
That's just all part of the process.
So I had to go through and hide all the stuff and fix it. So yeah, I tend to lose my train of thought pretty quickly, but I do get it done at the end of the day.
That's really cool, though. I mean, I get it, though, especially when you're in the flow of something or you're really excited or you have a vision for an area where you're at and you just kind of keep going with it. I mean, you're following your heart, Kirious, and I can't ask for anything more than that. So that's just how it is. By the way, if anyone has any little questions while we're going on here, feel free and drop them in chat. If, we can fit them in, we'll do our best. Speaking of which, Jawa's asking, how do you balance out performance and detail?
I was waiting for that question. I had a feeling someone would ask it. So if you really want to go for performance, you have to take into consideration the scale of your map. So in here, where I have all of this detail, it's going to lag a little bit because there's a lot of clutter. There's probably a couple hundred bricks here. And so realistically, the better option would be to use modeling tools and make it single props. I just worked with what I could feel like I could have done quicker, and because it wasn't intended to be gameplay, it would work fine. So in terms of balancing out performance, like I said, take into consideration the scale of the map, and when you've done that, you can decide how much detail you can put into certain areas. One thing I've noticed is, oh shoot, I forgot what I was gonna say.
That's okay. This happens to me all the time.
So for details inside of buildings, at least in Unreal Editor for Fortnite, you can change the view distance on individual props. And so anything that's going to be, for the most part, inside, you can select all of those and adjust the view distance on it, and that will increase performance significantly so that you're only really seeing them from inside the house or inside the building or inside that micro area. So anything bigger you want to be visible at all times, and anything smaller you want to only be visible when you're in that area, and that's a good way to balance it out.
Awesome. Great call out, Kirious. Yes, we've seen that evolve. We've also seen it evolve on the UE side as well, with the ability to help with the performance there on that. So that's a great call out. Oh, we got Dan, our own Dan over here, being sidetracked can be both a benefit and a detriment. Sometimes you can find your pace lacking when you're trying to force progress in an area. You might be more productive moving on to something you're eager to get to. On the other hand, I've caught myself spending far too long on something insignificant when I had much more pressing aspects to get to. You know what? We do. I don't know about y'all, but I do that in the day-to-day too. I mean, Stacy can probably also back me up here on that. Sometimes we get focused on things we're really excited about on community side. And it's like, but there's this other thing. But also, I just really enjoy working on this and helping creators with that and answering questions and responding to y'all on Twitter. There's a lot going on.
For changing view distance on props, let's say I want to come into this table and I want to make it only visible inside the building. If I click on it and I scroll down, there should be something that says is spatially loaded. You want to turn that on. And then you're going to go to the static mesh and change the desired draw distance. If it doesn't let you, there's an option called propagate draw distance on an additional component. Oh, it tabbed out again.
Oh yeah, careful. Your VTuber is
he lagging a little bit?
He was over the menu you were showing off, so it was kind of hard to see what you were.
Oh, my bad.
I'm sure they can get an idea, but it was
let me move
perfectly placed.
Okay.
Oh.
So.
Hey.
So there should be something called propagate draw distance on an additional component. You can turn that off, and then it will let you change the draw distance within the static mesh actor.
Awesome. Thank you for showing that. I appreciate it. I was going to ask, and then I was like, I just have so many questions. So very cool. Sorry, that was my cat. Ooh. Let's see. I'm just making sure we're caught up on here. Yeah, good. Okay, cool. Anything else you want to point out in regards to performance, Kirious, or do we feel we covered it pretty good?
That's still something I'm learning and figuring out, so probably not.
No worries, we all are, and I think it's always going to change as things change within UEFN and creative, so that makes a lot of sense. Let's see, you mentioned creating Fortnite or favorite locations within Fortnite in Islands, favorite places you've been. In this case, it's the cabin that you grew up in. What challenges or unique approaches do you face when you're trying to translate something real world into a virtual game environment?
So I think I talked a little bit on this earlier, but spatial awareness is really important and scale is really important. Those are the two biggest struggles. And something that really helps with that, if, like, for example, you're trying to replicate an area or make something similar to it, looking at map views can be really helpful. And kind of judging scale based on landmarks within those map views.
That's a really cool call out. Wow. So you search for particular places that you're gathering inspiration, or particular places where you want to recreate, zoom in, figure it out, try to scale it. Do you scale it with the mannequin and everything, or when you're inside the game?
Well, lately I've been doing that. But for example, when I was working in Fortnite Creative, it's a little easier because you're in game and you can tell better.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Everyone's taking notes. I love that.
You can always ask me more questions after too.
Yeah, it's true. Kirious is a person who is alive.
That's
At least
crazy.
We think so.
I didn't know that. Really? I'm a real boy?
It's true. I know, it's true. And it sounds like Kirious is open.
I knew that.
Honestly,
you have
though,
opened my eyes.
Literally, no. No, I do want to call that out too, Kirious. For those who haven't seen Kirious yet, Kirious is super active in the Fortnite community. We appreciate you so much. I know I see a lot of creators in here that interact with each other and you quite often, Kirious. So Kirious is very helpful. I don't know if there's anywhere you want to direct people if they do have questions that works best for you, Kirious, within Twitter or on Discord or whatever you're comfortable with. But I do know you're very helpful, and I know the community really appreciates that. So we're talking about, I know we wanted to go into a little bit about branding and marketing, because you do that very well. Yeah, with your thumbnails. I know you and your wife, you do, you jump on trending things on social to kind of push, spread word and also bring awareness to you and your brand that y'all have built. So that's all super important. And we have a question here from Viral Catalyst saying, are there any tips on marketing and things like that? So I know specifically with your your skills that you do have, both of you being able to build these things from scratch, how do you and your partner leverage your art skills to create captivating thumbnails and effectively promote your islands?
That's something that we've actually been trying to learn, because it's kind of new grounds. Before, we didn't really do a lot of composition with drawing. That's a more advanced topic. And so when we've been learning, a good example is my island fashion show map. We changed the thumbnail on that recently. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it, sometime near the end of summer or a little after. Or no, it was featured in October. That's when we changed the thumbnail. And so what we considered with that was, how are we going to tell people that this is a fashion show for people that can't read or have struggles reading? How will they know that it's a fashion show? And so I had sketched out an idea of something that was telling to people, there's a person over there posing and there's a person right here with some kind of judge looking tools. And then after we decide composition of how can we guide their eye to this within the resolution, the ratio, like the thumbnail ratio of the thumbnail. And so when you take that into account, you can successfully guide a viewer's eye to where you want them to look, and also express to them what the topic of the game is.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. And that's really cool that you took the time to think through that. I really appreciate when people do, especially in the name of accessibility or in the name of just trying to better communicate, because so many people around the world play Fortnite and see your experiences.
Right. Yeah. Even people that can't speak English, for when you're putting, English in or whatever language you speak in your title, other people aren't going to be able to tell what that is. So a really good way to tell them what it is through, what's the word for it? I had a word written down.
Yeah, it's a visual communication on.
Yeah, it's like visual communication. You're essentially telling someone what they're looking at and what to expect.
That's super smart. We did get one question. I just want to scroll back a little bit, and maybe you can speak to this. Maybe we would need time to think. But how do you approach lighting when it comes to making it look good for both people with, like, say, Lumen, or also people with just low settings in general? Someone said it's always a hassle making things look good for low settings, even if they look great on high settings.
I agree with that, because performance mode, they don't even have lights, like, at all. Not even with the actors in Unreal Engine. They can't see those on performance mode. And so that's a big problem, because people with computers, I know someone in the chat, Lazy, his computer is not good enough to run anything but performance mode. So it's something you have to take into consideration. So I try to let in a lot of natural lighting. I use, for example, in buildings, I use windows or skylights, just to accommodate for that, for starters. And it also just brings in the surrounding environment better. Outside of that, there is something, I've been learning this too, because it's a struggle for me as well. There's something called the Lighting Scalability Manager in Unreal Engine for Fortnite. And you can place that down and choose which actors show up for which graphic settings. It's really generalized. It goes through, I think what your lowest setting is set to is what it uses. But the way that I go about that really is just duplicating light sources and making them different for each graphic setting. And I know there's one for separating lumen and non-lumen. I just haven't figured out how to do that yet.
I think we covered this a little bit, but what types of lights do you use when or where they cast shadows? Do you overlap them sometimes?
So let's take the fireplace, for example, with
show us.
fire bugging out a little bit. That's a problem with this one. But with this, I told it to cast shadows, because if I didn't, it would show the light through everything. It doesn't block it through walls. The only problem I have with that is that sometimes the shadows can appear a little low quality. So you just have to kind of decide what's going to look best in this situation. If I'm trying to light a room, I'm probably not going to turn on cast shadows, just because the shadows are going to be really harsh. And you can do this with the UEFN point light actors and stuff too. Again, this is something I'm still learning, because I really like incorporating light into things. So it really just comes down to fiddling with the settings and finding out what looks best in the specific scenario you're using that light. For example, if I'm using a light outside, I'm probably not going to enable cast shadows on it.
Got it. And I know you wanted to mention this a little bit, Kirious. We talked about, of course, when you're trying to create actual things that exist outside into an island. But if you're looking for just inspiration in general, are there any tools that you use to pull that sometimes? Or say you're just really struggling and they're like, oh, here's a list of kind of places that you will, scavenge to kind of see, to gather some more inspiration.
So I use places like Google Images or Pinterest. You can go to like photographers' websites if they allow you to use them for reference. Normally I try to find things that I'm allowed to use as reference, or if I'm using them as a very general reference just to get an idea of what something like that would look like, it's normally fine to use. Because if you're not trying to copy it and just get it as inspiration, it's normally fine. But yeah, things like Pinterest, looking up keywords related to what you're creating and kind of sifting through what works best in the kind of scene you're trying to build. That's what I tend to do. And I'll gather those photos and I'll write notes on what I like from them and what I don't like from them.
Nice. Thank you so much for that. Getting a lot of great questions and chat interaction. We only have a few more minutes left, so I want to make sure we cover.
If you have time, I have time.
I have time, but only so much.
Only so much. Oh,
only so much.
We'll have to be careful.
Week. We must be careful. No. Yeah. Let's. If everyone's comfortable. If I can take over chat if Flack needs to go to a meeting or anything, but I can go another 15 minutes if that works for you. Okay. Make sure Dan's good. If Dan's good, we need a yes from Dan in chat because he holds this whole thing together.
Holding up the strings of the world.
Holding up the strings of the world. Dan is the glue. That's right. He's good. Okay, cool.
A thumbs up tells you everything. See, that is visual communication.
Clearly. Dan is a tech man and the glue. That's right. He's many things at once. So we were talking about aesthetics. And, someone was asking how you approach the composition of your aesthetics. So, for example,
I was waiting for this.
In this case specifically, we've covered it in terms of this is your, grandma's cabin, and these are the types of things that would be where they were, and they all had use and they all had reason for being there. But if you say you were building out, a room that you weren't aware of, like wasn't something directly from your experience, or you're trying to venture out into something new, how do you approach that composition when you're building out those aesthetics and that decor?
So lucky for you, this is where I have my most notes. This is the question I've been waiting for. So I try to look at it from the perspective of an artist or a photographer, and that you're trying to, as I mentioned with even this one, you're trying to guide the viewer's eye to a location. So let's say you're outside and you have your viewer on a path to somewhere and you don't want them to get distracted. Something important to consider is, how do you communicate to them where they're going? Are you going to make everything look the same, or are you going to have something that, like, for example, surround the path in some kind of nature or trees or fences that guides them to their next location? Give me one moment to check my notes.
I will also jump in and add, I learned this very much at other studios I've worked at, that a big one is lighting. Lighting, like you were mentioning, guiding light rather is a great one, where people will get lost if it's some sort of like where you're moving through something. And like, I can't think of the name right now. Almost story driven, you're going from point A to point B. How do we guide people without it being too obvious? Lighting is one, just kind of visual signals, even things on the wall. So that's a great point.
So I actually mentioned this to someone last night, but one good example is if it's nighttime in your game, like if that's your setting, what you can do is communicate to players where they can and where they can't go by turning off or on the lights in the buildings. That's just like one example of it, but it kind of, you can use that as an idea of, how do I communicate to a player that this place is inaccessible and this is the place I want you to go to, even without HUD elements.
Unless you're Neverty, and then you're going to go into that dark place.
Yeah.
There is no escaping.
Then you must fear.
Yeah. I love that. No, that's a great call out. So we've got some extra time. We have a couple more questions, but if anyone has more questions, feel free and drop them in chat. Let's see. We got one. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Kirious, someone's asking, King Bailey's asking if this was filled with Fortnite assets or other custom assets.
So this is all Fortnite assets. The only thing I did was change the texture data on some things. For example, the fireplace or these blankets, just because I wanted it to pop out a little more, but it's not necessary. So everything I've put in here, from little props to little details, is something from my memories. I put these these here because we would always have sparkling apple cider on holidays, or pies, because my grandma loved pies and so did my grandpa. And as I said, little things like sleeping bags from going to stay the night here, or the candy canes on the trees, because that's what we did. Little things like that. It's all, I used Fortnite props to tell the story of what would happen in this place.
That's great. And Eason has a question about lighting. I know we keep going back to lighting is very important, as we know. Do you recommend using light actors or using immersive materials for lights? They've heard a mix of opinions from a lot of people.
Okay, so with that, it depends again on scalability, what graphic settings you're using. You can use emissive lights if you're on Lumen, and you really won't need anything else. So if I go up here and I turn Lumen off, it's going to be really dark. Like, you're not going to be able to see anything. So in that scenario, I would use that scalability manager to turn brighter lights on for people on lower graphic settings, and on higher graphic settings, that's not necessary.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, you've been talking about the different graphic settings, and all I can think is whenever I try to load in things on my Switch.
Oh no. Yeah, if I release this for your sake, I'm gonna have to make sure the lights work.
Oh, bless. Bless me and my Switch. No, I actually on purpose went and got another console because I was
really?
I have to see y'all's islands better, and not suffer trying to load in. But I also
the Switch is so handy at the same time.
It's so good. It's so good. It just struggles with how high quality y'all's things are. That's all. Just
I
too
wonder
high
what
quality.
their next console will be like. Their next handheld, if it will be any better.
Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen in the future? Who knows with tech, right? Let's see here. I think are we on the last?
It could have been a pun.
Are we on the? No, we're not on the last question. We're not. Bless. Okay. When you have an idea for an island, okay, I think we kind of cover this. For those who are just joining us, we can brush over it again. But how do you flesh out an idea before diving into creating it, or do you at all? I think the answer is Kirious does, and one of the ways is you draw out those awesome plans that you're partnering.
Yeah, so we'll draw it out, or what I used to do before I draw it out is I would plan it out. I know a lot of people have talked about, I think it's called gray boxing. That's really useful. You kind of frame out the gameplay area and surrounding areas and what they're going to look like, and you test first.
Got it.
And make sure that it flows well.
Got it. Perfect. Yes, flows well. Flows super important. We got some more questions that were sent in by this wonderful audience over the course of the past week. I don't think we went over this specifically, Kirious, but correct me if I'm wrong. What are the best devices / props to create warm lighting with?
Warm lighting? So if we're talking strictly in creative where you can't customize lighting, I'll like to work with things like candles or lanterns like this. And then what I'll do, just to make them brighter and signify that they're stronger, is the customizable light device. That's solely within creative. Anyone can do that. That's what I do in all of my 1.0 maps. And in terms of UEFN, you can actually come into these props with the lights, and you can adjust the warmth of them. You can adjust how bright they are, how far away they shine from, the kind of radius that the light will cast. And you can even turn on and off shadows for some of them.
Awesome. And what I've heard several times now, we were talking about when you were walking through the different ones, it feels like that's just real life. I mean, when it comes to setting a warm space in your own space, IRL.
Yeah. Again, take inspiration from life.
Yeah.
That's kind of my whole thing is, and that's part of being an artist, is taking inspiration from even little things all around you.
That's your whole deal. That's perfect. We answered the prop hunt one. We talked about for assets and resources. Okay, here's a good one. If there's one point of interest you want in creative, but it hasn't been added yet, what would it be, Kirious?
Oh, I know I've discussed this one with you before.
So it is true.
There's a lot that I really like. I'm struggling to remember further back because it's been years and some of them we still don't have. But in terms of recent years, ones that I have really liked, I love the Japanese buildings. Those are some of my favorites from last chapter. I really, really would love to work with those, and I know a lot of creators in Japan would love to work with them. And next up, I really, really love the Mediterranean inspired buildings from this season and all of their respective props and other assets. I love that stuff. Like, I love creating summary. Obviously, I love Christmas, and I love love things from around the world, like Japan. That's something that really inspires me. But how do I say this? The like Mediterranean and tropical type things are something that I really feel like I can work with in a lot of different ways.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, definitely. And I agree with you all. I'm also enjoying the vibe of the newest installment where we're able to, it's interesting. It feels like a vacation spot, but also so many things at once. Oh, where am I? Should I be here? And it's been awesome to see. So we'll see how things go. Let's see, I want to check. We've got some, and if anybody has any favorite places, please share in chat. Would love to do, if you're open to it, Kirious, some rapid fire questions for fun.
Oh yeah. Anyone has questions in the chat, you can ask questions about even my little character here. About some more inspiration I gain, anything like that.
Yeah. Oh, starting with, what's your favorite food? Because that one did come in.
I don't know. Food is a struggle for me. I like something sometimes and I don't other times.
That's okay. What's your favorite food right now?
Oh gosh.
This moment. The pressure's on.
This time of year, I love stuff like pumpkin bread and gingerbread, and I love baking. I love baking and stuff like that.
Oh, you're making my mouth water. Yes, I need some gingerbread right now. Favorite donuts?
Oh my gosh, you would love what I make.
Do you even like
favorite
donuts?
Donut? Oh, I'm on and off with donuts. Do apple fritters count?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, yes.
I love apple fritters. That's my good thing. If you can get me one of those with very minimal glaze, you will make me happy.
Agreed. S. Dotes says, how long did it take you to get to where you are right now? That's a good question.
To where I am in terms of like growing my community and such and my skills.
Yeah,
my whole life.
No. How old are you? No. No. How
36,000 years old.
Yeah. How have you been creating? Yeah, how many years have you been creating now?
So in creative, and I think I touched on this earlier, I've been creating since it came out. Right. In terms of creating in general, I mean, I drew since I was very little. I was always into art. Older, like farther back than I can remember. I would always build things like cabins in Minecraft, because that's what I was inspired to do. When my grandparents passed away, I had a Minecraft server I was playing, and I built I know it's corny, but I was little and I built little graves for them and I built little cabins for them, just because it meant something to me. And I kid you not, people from the server came to help me and gave me stuff to quote gifts to put by their graves and props to place there for them. And so I really started out with things that inspired me from my childhood, and a really good starting point for that was my parents and their parents.
That's wonderful. And there, along those lines, was there any person in particular who inspired you to start creating in creative in general?
Oh man, in creative mode or like just being creative in general?
It just says creative in general. It specifically says in general.
In general, so creating
so
in
that's
general.
Probably the one.
Oh man, I don't know if there's any specific person that inspired me. It's really just taking different experiences from my life that inspired me, and turning those. I wanted to communicate and share that with people.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Just kind of inspiring yourself to
Hmm.
spread that, which is nice. We've got some love in chat right now for patchwork. Totally not Shane. Uh, that's super cool to hear. Yeah, if you create something cool in patchwork, any of y'all watching, I know this is a little outside of what we're talking about specifically right now, but please do share with us. Please tag myself. I'm at Callie Shane. Tag Flack if you'd like, at Flack. I mean, we love seeing that stuff. We will share with the team. They love to see it. Let's see what else we got. Oh, Flack's wondering, what would you like for Christmas?
I was just looking at the one. Anything that I can use. I've reached that point in my life where I like things that I can get use out of.
Me too. I don't know if that's just being this age.
I would.
But
I don't know. I would take gardening tools for Christmas, even though I can't use them for another 3 months.
oh no, well, we talked about your garden, and I
Yeah.
understand that. I mean, there's a lot of work and effort that goes into that. But I feel you. I feel you there. What about you, Flack? What do you want for Christmas? What chat? What do y'all want for Christmas? Oh my God. Dan said, "Who's your favorite stream tech?" Well, you know,
Well, maybe there's only one I know.
maybe there's
So.
one. You're the only one, Dan, in the earth. Do you stream map creating? If not, have you thought about it from Enderbite?
Hey, who says practical stuff can't be fun, Dan? Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, Dan, don't ruin that.
I would
Just
very
kidding.
much get use out of colorful gardening tools. Ones for little kids. I would still use them. In fact, that's the ones I have currently.
Aw, I love that. Do you stream your creations at all? Curious, or have you thought about it?
I used to. So I think I mentioned this earlier, but yeah, when I started out, I would stream with my community and get them involved in it. I don't have the opportunity now because
Yeah.
I don't really have the space or the internet connection to do that. I'm on a hotspot right now, but
Oh, right. We've talked about this.
yes.
The internet.
I
Well,
would definitely
we
love
appreciate
to when I can someday.
Yeah, we appreciate you. Let's see. Yeah, love in the chat. Thanks, Dux. Shout out for everyone sticking around overtime. Absolutely. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see if we got anything else. We're close to time. Oh, here we go. Curious, is there anything new in Creative or UEFN that you're looking forward to playing around with that maybe you haven't yet?
I don't think so currently, but I know there are upcoming things that I'm really gonna look forward to from the roadmap. I just couldn't tell you what they are right now.
No worries. No pressure. No pressure. Have you played around with Patchwork at all, Curious?
No, I haven't had the chance to. I've been pretty busy with a ton of stuff coming up to the holidays. It's the busiest time for me, so.
That is totally fair. And, you know, as some people, it comes super quick to dabble in that. So let's see. Okay, cool. Well, I think we got one last spicy question from King Bailey, because King Bailey asked some really good questions. I don't know if Curious or any of us know this answer, but if you do have the answer, feel free and share it in chat. What does it take to create a map that is successful?
Oh man. So I like to take existing genres and I really want to put a creative twist on them. I did that with, and this will be coming out soon with a complete overhaul update. I did that with a bumper cars back in 2021. I thought, how can I make this really feel like a wintry Christmas vibe? So I took bumper cars, I put it on a big like iceberg essentially, and I gave people items to throw at each other and boost around with, and it was complete chaos, but it was so fun. And if any of you have played my fashion show, I did the same thing there. I spent hours upon hours in other fashion shows and figured out what people did and did not like, what I did and did not like, how I could improve it, how I could incorporate other types of games into it. And I put that together and it worked for people, and people really loved it.
That's awesome. That sounds like a blast. That's bringing me back to the childhood days of chaos in games for sure.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to get it out. It's so fun.
Oh, I can't wait. Yeah, there's those are my kind of favorite ones. Both the aesthetically pleasing islands y'all create, and then the ones that are just utter chaos. And
oh, don't worry, it's aesthetically pleasing too.
Chaos and beautiful. Oh, what a gem. Well, thank you so much for your time, Kirious. Thank you everyone in chat. I know we got a question right at the beginning And then, but I figured I'd ask you. Some were asking where they could see your islands and follow you and information like that. So if there's any socials or islands you'd like to drop, feel free and let us know so the audience can check your stuff out.
I can put those in the chat. You can find all of mine just through my page. It's at Kiri Builds, Kiri Builds. And then you can find my other pages through there, but I will tag some of them in the chat for you guys.
Thank you. I'll put them in the other chats too once you drop them in there.
One of them is our art account that I share joint with my wife, and the other one's my personal account.
Perfect. And thank you all so much. Here, I will drop it over here too so the other chats get it. Thank you all for attending. We wouldn't be able to do these without all of you as well. And thank you, Kirious, for taking so much time to put together such a helpful and educational experience for us. If y'all liked this and liked being able to be walked through something in a deep dive with a creator, please let me know. Your feedback, tells me what kind of stuff y'all think is helpful and want more of. If you have an idea for something like this as more of a technical fireside, please let me know. I am here for you and to facilitate these kinds of things. Both Flack, Dan, all of us, we're here for that. So let us know. We love having you, and we're hoping this was super helpful. I know it was for me, Kirious, so I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to go through the footage and just kind of like every once in a while, spark more inspiration because this was so helpful. Yes, thank you so much, everyone. Happy holidays.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Yeah, is there anything else you'd like to say, Kirious, to everyone?
So if you'd like some more info on how I do things, you can ask me questions. I have a lot of notes I can share. I would like to say some more inspiration I come from is music. I like listening to music that tells stories, and something that will inspire me as I build. What do I think inspired the person to write this song? What kind of memory made them want to create this? And so I take that inspiration and use that as well. And I just really want to encourage you all to inspire yourself and others while you're building. Create something that will have meaning to people because, let's take, for example, a box fight map. What's going to make them come back to that after 6 months? In what way will this be memorable to someone? Yes, the gameplay could be fun, but they could always go to another box fight map. So if you want to inspire people and you want people to have good memories to the point they will try to come back, even if there aren't a lot of players in your map anymore, I think that the topics I touched on today are really important to consider because creating something that speaks to someone is the best way to get them to come back.
Oh, music to my ears. That is a wonderful point, Kirious. And I can definitely say the things that have impacted me as a player over the years has always been the things that make me feel something. And it's something that I definitely have preached with everyone I've coached throughout the years in UGC. So that's a great point. I'm so glad we're ending on that. What a wonderful thing to consider and think on. Thank you so much, Kirious, again. Thank you, everyone here. Thank you, Flack. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, everyone who contributed. Thank you to all of our previous Fireside Chat guests of the year. I see you, Immature, in here. Is there anyone else? Oh, I was like scanning. Happy New Year. We're going into the new year, and this was a great way to end. So thank you.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you for having me, Callie.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you. And with that, we will do our tradition, which is how long can we hang out and chat after the firesides?
Yeah.
It's a running tradition, Kirious.
Hey, listen, I can stay and talk to people. I'm just saying.
It never fails.
I have so many notes. If people want to know more, I will answer more.
Oh, I love that. Well, I'll leave the text chat open, and then that way we can have the moderators taking care of if anything happens. But I appreciate you, and I guess we'll say our long goodbyes. If you'd like to dip on a video, I will then close the video after that. But thanks, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.